Hey, Flick. Hey, Jolene. How are you getting on? When I last saw you, you looked pretty distressed. Is everything okay? Not really, Jolene. It's been a really tough week. Oh yeah? How come? You feel comfortable enough to talk to me about it? I mean, you're my best friend and stepsister, Jolene, so I guess I do, yeah? Okay, great. Stan and we're getting a divorce. Oh my god, a divorce? That's come out of nowhere. Well, from an outside perspective it has, but I'm afraid to say it's been coming for a long time. It has? But you guys are like the prime example of a happy couple. I know we only get to see the happy, smiling, cordial faces, but I would have never guessed you were struggling. It's just reached the end. We couldn't go on pretending anymore. I knew we had fallen out of love when we went through one whole week without so much as saying a word to each other. We just passed each other in the house like ghosts. Everyone imagines a divorce as being a culmination of a lot of rage and anger, arguments, a cheating husband or wife, but in our case, it was silent. As if we were both holding hands and suddenly we look down and we aren't anymore. Flick, that's so sad. Is there anything I can do? Well, I wanted to reach out to you anyway because I know you've been through this before, and I just need a shoulder to cry on during this process. And someone to help me get back on my own 2 feet. Of course, Flick. That's what sisters are for, right? Anything you need, I'm here. But, my divorce with Alex was very different from yours. I mean, you know better than most people how much we would argue, how toxic our relationship was. It wasn't easy to pull the plug on my marriage, but it needed to happen, and I was so relieved that it did. I mean, you saw how dysfunctional we were as a couple. We should never have started dating in the first place. It made it all the more strange that you were dating Alex before me. It was just all so messed up from the start. But you and Stan, gosh, you were so in love. Stop saying that, Flick. I know we were, but it wasn't real. It was just for show. Dysfunctional relationships come in all different shapes and sizes. Sometimes the ones that seem the happiest are actually the least functional. And I know Stan was in love with someone else. He was? Yeah, his childhood sweetheart. He never got over her. Rebecca Wood. You knew her in high school, right? Oh my god, yeah, I remember Rebecca. Oh my god, she was so plain. Nothing like you. Well, Stan was very plain too. He's a nice guy, sure, but he's plain. He's boring. All he wants to do is play golf on the weekends. The most exciting thing he's ever done is ask me to play racquetball with him. For 8 years. That's the most exciting thing I've done with my husband. Racquetball. I would have loved to have had an argument with Stan. Just once, just something, a little bit of danger. Intrigue. But he was so conflict averse. I guess our relationship was the opposite of yours and Alex's. And at the same time, it was just as dysfunctional. Honestly, I know you probably don't feel like it now, but Flick, it sounds like this divorce is going to change your life for the better. You guys just weren't compatible. Our moms always told us during high school that we had to settle for the first guy who would take an interest in us. And look at them. They did the same and both divorced too. And then your mom married my dad. We're picking up the pieces after taking bad advice from our parents. We should have followed our hearts. I never went to college because I married Alex. I always resented him for that. I'm only just now beginning to do all the things I should have done 10 years ago. Was it easy to start dating again? Not at first. If you're with the same person for so long, dating another person is hard, but healing comes from within. It's a slow process, but time eventually heals all wounds. Do you miss him? From time to time, but mostly I regret that we were never friends, and that we, to all intents and purposes, hated each other and stayed together for too long. It's sad. But the divorce was the best thing that ever happened to me. But I'll be here to help you when times start feeling rough. We're in it together, Flick. You might not be related to me by blood, but you're the best sister a girl could ever ask for. I'll always look out for you. Thank you, Jolene. You're the best. Speak soon. Speak soon. Jolene, I suppose you've heard the news by now. About Flick and Stan? Yeah, I heard. I feel so bad for them, but I talked to Flick yesterday and she seems pretty positive about the whole situation. Does she? Well, yeah, she said that she and Stan were not compatible and that it had been a long time coming. Well, Jolene, Flick is my daughter, so I know her better than anyone, and you are my stepdaughter, so I think you ought to know a few things. What things? Well, I'll come on to that, but I'd like to preface this conversation by asking you a question. You've always had a strange way of making conversation, Brenda, but sure, ask away. How are things with you and Alex at the moment? As in, my ex-husband, Alex? Yes. Cordial, I guess. Well, as cordial as it can be between two people who recently got a divorce. By cordial, do you mean that you still talk? Well, not really. I guess that's why it's cordial. When Alex and I talked before, we used to yell at each other. In fact, there was never much talking going on between the two of us. I see. He asks me about Gizmo, our dog. Well, my dog. He always loved Gizmo more than me. Sure. Where are you going with this, Brenda? Well, this is going to sound very strange, but are you aware at all if Alex has started dating anyone recently? I don't know, and I don't particularly care. What Alex does with his time is none of my business anymore. So, you have no feelings whatsoever towards Alex anymore? I can't say I do, no. Not a tiny part of you still loves the man? No, Brenda, we're divorced. It's over. Okay, well, that's good to know. Why are you asking me if I still love my ex-husband? Because I wanted to ask whether or not you would be against Flick dating Alex. Flick? As in my stepsister and your daughter? Yes, I've talked to your father about it and he thinks it's a great idea. What? Why would you both think that? That would be a terrible idea. Because you still love Alex? No, Brenda, it's because I hate Alex is the reason I think it's a terrible idea. The man is insufferable. We had a hellish marriage for 8 years. That man made my life a misery. I wouldn't wish a relationship with Alex on my worst enemy, never mind my best friend and stepsister. Were you not present during Alex and my divorce? I was, and I remember you feeling extremely torn up about it at the time. Well, in the 6 months since we signed those divorce papers, my life has completely changed. It's been the happiest 6 months of my life. That's surely an exaggeration. You had to go through therapy, Jolene. And I've come out the other side a new woman, Brenda. I'm happy now. I'm positive about the future. Well, that's great for you, Jolene, but Flick is not positive about the future despite what she might have told you. She's not? No, she isn't. Flick puts on a brave face, but deep down she is anxious, and she doesn't know if she's made the right decision about divorcing Stan. Well, it sounds like she has. It sounds like she never loved Stan. That much I do believe, but I also believe that she never loved Stanley, because she had always loved someone else. Really? Yes. I believe she has, and always will be, in love with Alex. Alex? My awful ex-husband, Alex? Come on, Brenda. Flick's not in love with Alex. Don't you think it's incredibly convenient timing that 6 months after you divorce Alex, Flick's marriage collapses? I don't think there's anything convenient about a divorce. If my divorce was the catalyst for Flick divorcing Stan, it was probably because Flick saw how happy it made me. I don't think it has anything to do with her being in love with Alex. Well, that's because she's never told you about her feelings toward Alex. She was too afraid to tell you. When she and Alex broke up in high school, her heart never really healed. And then 3 years later, he's engaged to her stepsister. I went to a different high school to Flick. I mean, come on, Brenda. You only married my dad when I was already dating Alex. It was just a coincidence that my new stepsister was my boyfriend's ex-girlfriend. And Flick was so desperate to be your friend that she never told you her true feelings about Alex. About how she had never stopped being in love with him. I could see it in her eyes. The pain she felt every time she saw the two of you together. It was a difficult thing for a mother to shoulder. Flick and I both wanted to have a great relationship with you, to make you feel like you were part of our family. But we both knew it was tearing Flick up inside. And then Flick met Stan, and I encouraged her to pursue a relationship with him because I knew it would take her mind off of Alex. And for a while it did. But I could see from the start that she wasn't happy with Stanley. There was no spark there. But Flick is brilliant at hiding her true feelings. She never lets on how she's really feeling. But I knew. Perhaps I was the only one who really knew. So what do you want from me, to help set Flick up with Alex? No, I'm not asking that. All I'm saying is that if things were to happen, the natural course of life, that is, that you would harbor no ill feelings towards your sister. Flick loves you, and I feel that she would go on hiding her true feelings for Alex out of fear that she would upset you. I don't know, Brenda, this all sounds so bizarre. I just want your blessing. If Flick wants my blessing to start dating my ex-husband, who she's apparently been in love with since high school, she can ask for it herself. But she won't. We'll see about that. Please, Jolene, if you talk to Flick, she'll probably deny it, but I know it's true. I trust Flick. I trust her to tell me the truth. Speak to you soon, Brenda. Be kind, Jolene. Remember to be kind. I will. Thank you. Hey, Flick. Me again. Jolene! I was just thinking about texting you. Do you think it's too early to download a dating app like Hinge? I mean, the divorce papers still haven't been signed. I spoke with your mom earlier. You did? Yeah, she told me some pretty weird stuff. So I'm just going to dive straight into it and see what you make of it all. My mom's pretty strange, but sure thing, shoot. Well, she asked me if I still had any feelings towards Alex. And I thought that was strange, considering Alex and I divorced 6 months ago, so I said of course not. But then the conversation got even weirder. She asked me if I would be okay with you dating Alex. She said you were having a hard time coming to terms with your divorce and dating Alex might be a good idea. Naturally, I said I thought it wouldn't be a good idea considering how horrible mine and Alex's marriage was. And then she said that I was in love with Alex. Yeah, that's exactly what she said. Did she tell you about our conversation? No, she didn't. But I had a feeling she would probably do this. Oh yeah? Well, it's crazy, isn't it? You're not in love with Alex, are you? Well, I used to think I wasn't, but recently, over the last couple of years, I think I have been. I think I still am. So, you're telling me you're in love with my ex-husband? Yeah. I'm so sorry, Jolene. Actually, I take that back. You take it back? No, only the part about recently thinking I might be in love with Alex. I've always been in love with him. Since the day we met in high school, I've loved him. So all this time you were too afraid to tell me? Yes. I'm sorry, Jolene. I've been so afraid. I tried to get over Alex by marrying Stan, but it only made it worse. My feelings never went away. I felt trapped with Stan. I tried to pretend we had a good marriage, but it was all a sham, a ruse, make-believe. And when you and Alex divorced, it just made me think, not necessarily about Alex, but about my own marriage. How staying with someone just because you think you ought to is not a reason to ruin your own life. Your mom suggested that my divorce from Alex was the catalyst for you divorcing Stan. Well, it was, but like I said, not because I wanted to rekindle my relationship with Alex. I would never do that to you. In fact, I've never once thought about reaching out to Alex, and I don't intend to. You're too important to me, Jolene. Flick. Yeah? I think you should. What? I think you should reach out to Alex. You do? Yeah, I do. Listen, since my conversation with Brenda, I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I'm so happy at the moment. My life has changed since my divorce. I firmly believe now that we only have a small amount of time on this earth. And if you being with Alex would make you happy, if it's your destiny to be together, if the fact that our marriage made him so miserable was because he couldn't be with you, then who am I to stand in your way? I just want you to be happy, Flick. You should at least try things with him, otherwise you'll regret it for the rest of your life. And I'll regret that I stood in your way. Jolene, that's so kind of you. It really means the world to me that you've given me your blessing. It's gonna be strange, for sure, but like I said, I'm happy now, and nothing is going to change that. I love you, Jolene. I love you too, Flick. 6 months later, and Flick and Alex are engaged. I couldn't have predicted this turn of events when Alex and I divorced, but despite my feelings towards Alex and the 8 years we spent in a marriage, I don't begrudge him or Flick's happiness. In fact, it's the most in love I've seen a couple. I'm more than happy for my sister, and as far as I'm concerned, there are plenty more fish in the sea.